Nostradamus of presidential elections. Historian Allan Lichtman from American University predicted 9 of the last 10 elections correctly. And he has a prediction who will win the Oval Office in 2024. Joining me now on the morning show, Allan Lichtman. It is a pleasure. Appreciate you.
According to the keys to the White House, the incumbent Democrats, Harris, the nominee, are down 4 keys. It takes 6 or more false keys to count them out and predict that Donald Trump will return to the White House. That's why my prediction system, with a 40-plus year track record, predicts that Kamala Harris will be a new path-breaking president, the first woman president, and the first president of mixed African and Asian descent.
How's it working out for you?
Allan Lichtman and his 13 keys have come under fire. Now, of course, he's gained notoriety from predicting supposedly 19 of the last 20 elections correct, including the Donald Trump 2016 election. He was saying Trump was going to win when everyone else was saying, no way, not going to happen. Hillary Clinton is the shoo-in. So, of course, that gave him some big-time notoriety. But this time around in 2024, what happens? Oh, he predicts Kamala Harris is going to win. And, of course, we all know how that turned out. So lately, of course, he's been doing the rounds on the news shows trying to explain what went wrong with his prediction this time around. And I have my own thoughts on this, and we'll get to that in a second. But before we watch these clips, please like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
Yes, as I said, things could go wrong. There could be unprecedented events that change the pattern of 160 years of history. That's what happened here. 2 things. Number 1, disinformation. We've always had disinformation, but disinformation has exploded to an unprecedented degree. You talked about a grievance election, but a lot of that grievance was driven by disinformation. Starts with Fox News and conservative media, conservative podcasters with tens of millions of views. But we've seen something brand new this time. The 300 billionaire Elon Musk putting his thumb on the scales through his control of X, formerly Twitter. It's been reported that his misinformation has had billions, literally billions of views. And this is spread to every aspect of this election. There is misinformation about everything about the economy, inflation, jobs, unemployment, the stock market, growth. There is vast disinformation about undocumented immigrants, that they're supposedly killers who are out to get you. In fact, studies by Cato and the National Institute of Justice show undocumented immigrants are the most law-abiding segment of our society, committed crimes and violent crimes, less than half that of native-born Americans. It's spread to the hurricane relief, spreading lies that hurricane relief dollars were being diverted to migrants. It's lies about the Ukraine war, that somehow Ukraine was responsible for having one of the world's great powers invade a 3rd or 4th-rate power. And, as scholars have shown, once you dissolve truth, democracy dissolves along with it.
So basically what Allan Lichtman is saying is the reason his model failed is because you don't see how awesome the Kamala Harris-Joe Biden regime actually was, right? The economy is booming. Never mind the fact that all those job numbers keep getting revised down whenever they're released. Never mind the fact that inflation is still way up and prices, of course, are not coming down. Never mind the fact that despite the stock market being up, it's only the huge major indices and companies that are doing well, meaning, of course, your average everyday Americans investing in growth stocks are left out in the cold, okay? So that's the first thing. Next, of course, is immigration and the simple fact that, yes, many illegal immigrants have come into this country and committed heinous crimes, all right? But they always try to juxtapose the fact that, yes, legal immigrants actually are the ones who commit crimes at a much lower rate, not the illegal immigrants, all right? But when they average those two out, that's when you get the result that Allan Lichtman was talking about. And of course, we have hurricane relief. Yes, FEMA did use billions of dollars to help out illegal immigrants. And then what happened when a natural disaster actually hit? Oh, we seem to have run out of money. $750 for all those people in North Carolina. That's it. That's all you get. And also don't forget those true reports about FEMA workers actually skipping Donald Trump supporting houses. But of course, Allan Lichtman is going to say all of that is misinformation, masterminded by Elon Musk over there on that awful, terrible X that actually allows free speech.
As George Orwell warned in 1984, in that dictatorship, war is peace, famine is plenty. The other thing that's unique about this election is the explosion of elements that have always been present, the dark side of American history, but that have been agitated to an unprecedented degree in this election. And I'm talking about racism, misogyny, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, with a woman of color being a particular target. And these things cross ethnic and racial lines. The first xenophobic law in America goes all the way back to 1798, the Alien and Sedition Acts.
Right.
And guess who the enemy was then? The French, who were ethnically and racially indistinguishable from the settlers in England. Then it's the Jews, the Germans, the Irish, the Mexicans, the Muslims. There's always an other. And, you know, I can give you example after example of how these issues.
No, but look, we get it. I get the
way.
concepts. I just want to test the application with the context of what we saw happen in the election. So I stipulate, of course, and I know it makes some people uncomfortable, but race and gender matter in America in choosing leaders.
They always have.
It can be positive. It can be negative. I think sometimes it's a percentage of both, but it's real. I don't dispute that. There's no reason to. It would be ignorant. However, when you look at this, it leads to a suggestion, Professor, that all the white people came out to vote for Trump and not the black woman. We don't really see that
as I explained,
in the
it's
demos.
not limited to white people. That's
Right, because black voters didn't come out. The Democrats lost because they underperformed, Alan. The Democrats lost because they underperformed. They misread the main motivators for the voters, and they underperformed. Black women pulled a heavy load for the Democrats again, but they couldn't overcome black men, Latino women, married women, you know, even though reproductive rights matters, it wasn't everything for them. And you saw it in a lot of demos.
So, of course, the old culprits for the left are always the same. We lost this election because of racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism. All right, which side was having problems with anti-Semitism? Oh, it was the radical left, right? All those college campuses, all those left-wing students, right? It was the same people from the BLM and Antifa that were out there rioting and burning things down, okay? All in the name of anti-Semitism, okay? And of course, racism, misogyny. Yeah, it had nothing to do with the fact that Kamala Harris was a terrible candidate, right? That she didn't run a good race, that she stayed locked up for a month and a half before giving her first interview, and the simple fact she refused to distance herself from the most unpopular president we've had in 40 years, okay? That is what happened. That's why she lost. But of course, every single voter, all those Hispanic males, all those black men, right? All those people that shifted over to the Republican side, oh, they're all the racist, sexist, misogynists that we have now. Now, here's the thing about Allan Lichtman's keys. I actually like them. I think they're a pretty good indicator. I just think that he completely misinterpreted them. So the way this essentially works is there's 13 different indicators. And if the incumbent party has 7 of them, they generally win the election. And if they don't, then they lose the election. So let's go ahead and go through these. Party mandate. After the midterm elections, the incumbent party holds more seats in the U.S. House of Representatives than the previous midterm. That is false. So 1 against Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Next, no primary contest. There is no serious contest for the incumbent party nomination. I'll say false on that as well because there was a primary and Joe Biden did win handily. But what happened? They ended up replacing him. So I'm going to count that as a primary process. All right. So there's a false. Incumbent seeking re-election. The incumbent party candidate is the sitting president. So that's actually true, right? Democrats have control. So that's always in favor of the party running. Okay. Next, no third party. There's no significant third party or independent campaign. I'll say false because RFK Jr. was actually a big deal at one point, having up to 14% of the vote. But of course, then the smear campaigns came out and he dropped way down. But then, of course, he ended up endorsing Donald Trump. And that was actually some really big news that swayed a lot of voters. So I'm going to say that's a false as well. Okay, next, short-term economy is strong. The economy is not in recession during the election campaign. We can argue back and forth about this because when they make these reports, it's always like, okay, we're leaving out certain key indicators to paint a rosier picture. So I'll just err on the side of caution and go ahead and give this to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Next, strong long-term economy. real per capita economic growth during the term equals or exceeds mean growth during the previous 2 terms. So we can argue that, yes, Donald Trump came in and his economy boomed. And then, of course, we had the drop because of COVID. And then it started to go back up a little bit. Joe Biden got into power and it went back up and even exceeded a little bit. So never mind what we all know to be true. I'll go ahead and give this as a true to Joe Biden just to move this along. Next, major policy change. The incumbent administration affects major changes in national policy. I'll say that's true. I'm thinking Title IX, but that's not necessarily a positive, all right? But I'll say it definitely is true. There were some major changes at the border, right? A lot of things happened. No social unrest, right? That is definitely false, right? There is no sustained social unrest during the term. We had months of protests on college campuses over the whole Israel-Palestine deal, right? And of course, it did not paint a rosy picture for the administration and the Democrats. Next, no scandal. The incumbent administration is untainted by major scandal. Yeah, have we heard about the Hunter Biden laptop and all the payments connected to the big guy? So I would say, yes, that is definitely a major scandal. Next, no foreign or military failure. The incumbent administration suffers no major failure in foreign or military affairs. Well, do you remember the Afghanistan withdrawal and how bad that was? So that's definitely a false. Major foreign or military success. The incumbent administration achieves a major success in foreign or military affairs. No, wars are popping up all over the place, and there's an inability for Joe Biden's administration to basically come to agreements, to come to arrangements and ceasefires, right? It just isn't happening, so that's another false. Next, a charismatic incumbent. You can argue about that, but I would say that Kamala Harris, although she can read a speech, she cannot go off the cuff. She cannot get people excited, okay? So I would say she is definitely not charismatic, all right? Uncharismatic challenger. Totally false. Donald Trump is very charismatic. Even people who hate him will have to admit that, yes, he has a big personality. So on my final count here, I have 9 against Kamala Harris and 4 in support of Kamala Harris. Now, a couple of those I may have fudged, so I could have been as high as 6 on the very, very lenient end, but that still would be a failing grade according to these indicators by Allan Lichtman. And that's why I believe that, of course, he's misinterpreting his own tables, his own data. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.